people spoke and the government listened. And here is the response to the setting up of about 22 emergency food markets across several local government areas of the state. Now let's go inside and see what indeed happens. We'll be visiting smart farms of PS Nutraceuticals on this episode of Startups to see how they're leveraging on tech to fight food shortage in Nigeria. So you're saying that Nigeria cannot be restructured under President Buhari's administration?
By his action. It can be if he's willing.
There's very minimal human and vehicular movement with lots of police officers on ground keeping watch. I'm right here at the Go-Kada headquarters in Ilupeju, Lagos to find out how he made this happen. It's lunchtime now, so I have to order some food from this app and maybe tour the city on Waxy this weekend. Till next time, bye for now. Over 100 persons have come out in the numbers to vote Nigeria's new set of leaders. It's difficult to tell what 2019 holds, but it doesn't look like the Boko Haram insurgency will be completely wiped off anytime soon. Now, that's not a problem because we know it's the raining season, but the issue here is that for communities like this one in Victoria Island, where there are no drainages, the residents and people commuting through this road tend to suffer. The Lagos State government and the Nigerian Ports Authority will be putting heads together to commence an electronic call-up system for trailers at the Apapa port. The next thing to do, as I've been told, is to go over there and wash my hands to make sure that I am clean and ready to interact with others. Business insiders have hinted that the preferred buyer for ShopRite is 60-year-old Tayo Amuso, a Nigerian billionaire and investor. Aided by a cane, 48-year-old math teacher Cyril Ojime makes his way to class. He greets a class of 24 hearing-impaired students using sign language, and the day's lesson begins.
Profit and loss.
This situation is quite peculiar. Cyril can't see his students, and they can't hear him. But with the aid of a sign language interpreter, work goes on.
500 minus 300, that will give us 200.
Cyril is a graduate of pure and applied mathematics at the University of Ilorin. He had a successful career as an award-winning math teacher in private schools across Nigeria. But he was diagnosed with glaucoma in 2012 and became visually impaired when a 6-month doctor strike deprived him of medical care.
There was no doctor for him to go and say, okay, this is what is happening, what next? If the doctors were on ground, I would have been able to get the proper medical attention on time.
Though his passion to demystify math keeps him going, his experience teaching a hearing-impaired class hasn't been a bed of roses.
They are very slow at learning, very, very slow. You have to be very patient. And in doing that, there is no way I will cover the syllabus. So right now, I don't look at how far, but how well.
He re-echoes the appeal of people with disabilities for Nigerians and the government to embrace rather than discriminate against them.
They are pushed aside. They look them as perpetual beggars. And it's not supposed to be. Some of us, we are learned, and we don't need pity. We need opportunities, we need encouragement.
In January 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari signed a law that criminalizes discrimination against persons with disabilities. The law also requires all public organizations to reserve at least 5% of employment opportunities for these persons. But with little done to enforce this act, many persons living with disabilities can only dream of an opportunity like Cyril's. Aneta Felix, Plus TV Africa. Since the federal government restricted intra- and interstate movement to contain the COVID-19 pandemic, millions of micro, small and medium enterprises in Nigeria have become vulnerable. Though the lockdown was ordered to save lives, businesses began to die. Korea's startup Fast Track Logistics was indeed on the fast track, opening branches in 3 states in less than 5 years, employing over 20 staff with a fleet of over 20 motorcycles. But since President Muhammadu Buhari ordered a lockdown on March 29th, FTD Logistics began to cut their losses.
Before COVID-19's full impact on businesses. We're doing, say, 450 to 550 shipments every day for deliveries. Now, since the pandemic, we started noticing that volumes were dropping to half of that, a quarter of that. So we're talking about 250 to 180 shipments. And then that also in itself affected revenue. So if we're making daily, say, roughly 70 to 80,000 naira, started noticing it was dropping to, say, 25 to 30,000 naira.
But that was just the beginning. As Adedayo was to soon find out, the pandemic would further drive down consumption, forcing him to take drastic steps to keep his business afloat.
What we've tried to do is to drop running costs, is to drop overheads. So we have successfully divided the team into two. And then we have moved from a salary base to a commission base. So it means that people will be paid for what it is they have done. So what we have done in that is, like I said, we divided the team into two. So some persons work more like shifts. One person will work this week and then go home, rest. The other sets work next week. So that in itself has helped us bring down the running cost and the operational cost.
Business hasn't been good either for 37-year-old Kayode Gabriel, who's a printer and brand designer. He usually makes about 500 carrier bags and about 1,000 boxes for businesses per month. But since the lockdown on non-essential services in Lagos, he's had to close up shop and adopt frugal habits to survive.
Pre-COVID-19 lockdown, so I've been saving a lot of money. After like 2 weeks, the account was going down because we are only seeing debits, there's no credit, unlike before. So we have to shorten our living standard. We have to shorten it down so that we can accommodate, all other expenses, but at a minimal level.
Adedayo and Kayode's story is not unique. Over 41 million small business owners are also laboring under the financial burden of the COVID-19 lockdown, as they've been forced to stay home and are unable to transact business. Aneta Felix, TV 360, Nigeria.